about 7 a.m. and I am about to start my meal prep, and I'm going to take you along on my meal prep today. So as you saw, I did have a cup of coffee, and now I'm going to sip on my TEAMI tea. There is a link below for you to get a $10 discount on TEAMI tea, and this is delicious and it works like a charm. I do have a video that I did on TEAMI tea, which I will post above, so you will be able to see that and kind of learn a little bit more about the TEAMI skinny tea. But today we are going to prepare a breakfast item, a dessert, and then you're going to see me meal prep my snacks and things for the week. And then the last thing you'll see is dinner tonight. So I hope that this helps you with some great ideas for Weight Watchers. And as you know, I will post all of the classic points, smart points, and points plus on the screen. So I look forward to spending my Sunday with you. So the first thing we are going to make this morning is called a berry crumble French toast bake. So this is what I'm going to be having for breakfast today, as well as a couple of times throughout the week. So what is in my French toast bake is 12 slices of reduced calorie bread. So that is another reason why I purchased the Sara Lee Delightful bread. Also, there are 6 eggs, some butter, and I'm going to use real butter because the recipe does call for real butter. And then you have 3 berries. So you have strawberries, blueberries, and raspberries. There is a little bit of honey, vanilla, and cinnamon, and then just a small amount of both sugar and flour. So this is going to be the berry French toast bake. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I went ahead and sprayed my 9-inch pan with some cooking spray. And the next step in the process is to actually dice up your 12 slices of bread into 1-inch squares. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. To take half of your pre-cut bread and you're going to place it in the bottom of your prepared dish. So I'm just going to sprinkle about half of the bread bottom. Okay, so the other half is reserved for like the second layer of the baked French toast. So that looks like about half of my bread. So there it is in the bottom of my pan. The next step in the process is to, in a bowl, the decent sized bowl, you're going to whisk together your 6 eggs along with milk, honey, vanilla, and cinnamon. So let's get started on that. So the next step in the process is to take your half of your bread and you're going to top it with your 1 1/2 cups of berries. So as you can see, I did some strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries. So I'm just going to kind of sprinkle my berries over my bread. And then you top that with the egg mixture that we just prepared. So I want to try to make this look pretty even with the berries, so you get a little bit of each of the kind of berries in each bite. So that is what the bread topped with the berries looks like. And then you are going to pour your egg mixture over the top of your bread. And then it says to push down the bread, so make sure that you've got the mix all in, soaking into all of the pieces of your bread. And then this will go in the refrigerator for 1 hour before we actually bake it and add our topping. So this is what it looks like, ready to go in the refrigerator. All right, while it is in the refrigerator, I went ahead and melted my 3/4 of a tablespoon of butter. And then I'm going to add in my sugar. And it calls for 2 tablespoons of sugar. So let me do that. And then I'm going to also add in 2.5 tablespoons of flour. So there is my 2 tablespoons of sugar. And then I'm going to add in my flour, which is 2.5 tablespoons. And then you're essentially going to mix this all together until it forms a crumble. And that is what is going to top your French toast bake. So I'm just going to take a spoon and kind of just mix this all together here until it forms a crumble. And I'll go ahead and set this aside, and then right before I put my bake in the oven, I will top it with my crumble. So this is what the crumble looks like. So I'm just going to set this aside and wait for my recipe to refrigerate. All right, so I just pulled my French toast bake out of the refrigerator, and now I'm going to add in my crumbled topping, and I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it on top. The crumble it's a decent amount, so it's not going to be overpowering, but I want to make sure that I get a little bit of crumble in each of the areas of the French toast bake. And then I will be covering this with foil and baking it in the oven for 1/2 of an hour before I take the foil off and cook it for an additional 25 minutes. So this recipe definitely has some prep time. You do have the hour in the refrigerator and then roughly an hour of baking, along with probably about 1/2 of an hour of actual prep of the ingredients. So this is what it looks like with the topping. It looks amazing. And then I'm going to just top it with my sheet of foil and get it in the oven for 1/2 of an hour. And then I will be back with the final product, so it's ready to go. All right, the French toast bake is out of the oven. It smells so good. It looks so good and decadent. Look at that. It's thick all the way to the top. So again, 6 servings, and the points value I'll list again here on the screen for you. But I am really excited to give this a try. I think I may actually have a slice of it for a snack. So if I do, I will share that with you and let you know how it is. But here is the French toast bake, and the recipe will be linked below in the description. One other thing I wanted to mention is the recipe said that you could put on a little bit of sugar-free syrup. It would be 0 points if you watch the amount, but I may try that as well. It is a suggestion in the recipe, so it looks amazing. So this is going to be breakfast this morning. I will put the points values up on the screen for you. So I have 1 of the Everything Bagel Thins, topped with a wedge of Laughing Cow light Swiss cheese, 1 egg with some salt and pepper, the leftover raspberries from my French toast bake, and then my TEAMI skinny tea. So this is going to be a Sunday morning breakfast. While my French toast bake is cooking, I am prepping my breakfast for the week. So I'm going to have my usual, change it up a little bit. I'm going to do the 1 egg and the 3 of the Jimmy Dean fully cooked turkey sausages. I am going to do the bagel thins, and I'm going to top those with a wedge of the Laughing Cow creamy Swiss cheese, and then sprinkle on a little bit of the Trader Joe's Everything But the Bagel seasoning. So this is going to be my breakfast, and then I will add a fruit of some sort. I have strawberries, blueberries, and mandarin oranges for the week, so I will add a fruit to these as well. So all ready to go for the week. All right, I meal prep my lunch. The rest is put away, but I did get a day out to show you. So for lunches this week, I'm going to have 2 slices of the Dave's Killer Bread with 4 slices of the Hillshire Farm ham. I did package up some light mayo. I do this a lot in these little containers. It just makes it easy to take to work. I may not use the mayo because I am going to put an avocado on my sandwich. These are the little mini avocados from Trader Joe's. So I bought a bag of those. I have 1 for every day. I always pack some vegetables. I sometimes eat these before lunch or with lunch. And then I'm going to have my typical Greek yogurt. And for dessert, I am packing the Fiber One birthday cake bars. So this will be my lunch. I may incorporate a fruit. It just depends on if I am still hungry, but this is the plan for lunches. The last thing I prepped for breakfast and lunches were my fruit. So I've got 3 bags of my green grapes, 3 bags of the leftover blueberries from the French toast bake, and it looks like 4 bags of the leftover strawberries from the French toast bake. So this will be our fruit for the week for both my husband and myself. Here's the French toast bake. I'm going to have this as my snack. So it looks amazing, and you get a rather large piece for the points value. As you can see, it's really good. I've almost finished it. I did not add any sugar-free maple syrup, but I think next time I would. The crumble is really sweet, but the rest of it is not. So I think adding a little bit of the maple syrup would make it a little sweeter, but really, really good. All right, the next item I'm making for the week is a lemon lime Diet 7-Up cake, but I am using Diet Orange instead. So everything that is in the cake is all-purpose flour, the yellow cake mix you saw in my grocery haul, canola oil, corn syrup, lemon jello pudding. Again, I am using Diet Orange instead of Diet 7-Up. Powdered sugar, unsweetened applesauce, fresh lemons and fresh limes, and 2 eggs and 2 egg whites. It also calls for yellow and green food coloring, which I am not going to use. It wouldn't change the point value or anything of the dessert. So let's get started and make this. All right, let's get started on the 7-Up cake, or the vintage cake. Again, I am going to use Diet Orange instead of Diet 7-Up. That is what I had on hand. And I think the contrast of the orange with the lemon and lime will be really good. So the first thing we are going to do is add our cake mix. So this is the package of the yellow cake mix. I did not buy sugar-free. The recipe did not call for sugar-free, nor did my store have it. But you could do sugar-free instead if you would rather. All right, next we're going to add in our 2 tablespoons of flour, which I already measured out. Next is our package of instant lemon pudding. And again, I did not get sugar-free as the recipe did not call for it, nor did my store have sugar-free in lemon. So there is the lemon instant pudding mix. And then the next thing is a can of your diet soda. So I'm going to use the Virgil's Diet Orange. The recipe again calls for Diet 7-Up, but I do not have any, so I thought the orange would be really good. Next is canola oil, and it called for 1/4 cup of canola oil. And then the last, oh, no, 2 more things, sorry. Next is the lemons, limes. So this is approximately 3 tablespoons of fresh juiced lemon and lime. So that is going to go in there. And then the last thing into the cake batter is going to be my egg. So 2 eggs, 2 egg whites. And then I'm going to mix this with my hand mixer until smooth. All right, mix this mix up and we are good to go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and use my hand mixer. Mix it up really good. It said to mix it until it's fairly non-lumpy. So let me do that. For a bun pan. I'm gonna go ahead and do a sheet pan. So this is one of the Pampered Chef dishes. So I did spray it with some non-stick spray, and then we will go ahead and put in our cake mix, and I will show you what this looks like right before it goes into the oven. All right, and here you have it. It is gonna go into the oven for 60 minutes. So I will show you the next steps once it is cooked. All right, the cake is out of the oven. I'm gonna let it cool for 15-20 minutes, and then I will make the glaze, and we'll drizzle the glaze on top of the cake. It smells really good. All right, and the last step of the cake is the glaze. So what I have in here is the 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. I also zested or freshly squeezed a fresh limes and fresh lemons. I needed 1.5 tablespoons of each for the glaze. So that is going to go into the glaze. And then the last thing that goes, if you don't use food coloring, which I am not, if you use food coloring, that also gets added to the glaze. You would divvy up the the white glaze into 3 separate bowls and add your food coloring. But since I am not doing that, the last thing that gets added is the corn syrup. And it's just 1 teaspoon. And the reason for the corn syrup is it adds a shine to the glaze. So without the corn syrup, the glaze would dull when drying. So we're simply going to mix this together until smooth. And then we'll drizzle that over the top of the cake. So that will then dry and add a really nice glaze to our cake. All right, so we're just gonna drizzle on our glaze. So here it is. And I'm just gonna kind of drizzle it onto my cake. And then I will show you what that finished product looks like. Once the glaze cools, it will harden. So it will have a nice, somewhat frosting topping on my cake. And again, you can do the food coloring if you wanted different swirls of color on your cake. I didn't have any food coloring, and I figured it was a step that I could skip for ease of the recipe. So again, if you do have food coloring, you could drizzle that individual colors, the yellow, the green, and the white, and it would make it look a little bit more like a 7-Up style cake. So I'm just going to spread my glaze evenly over my cake and then continue to let it cool and dry and put it in the refrigerator. I will be posting the recipe in the description box below, and all of the points values will be on the screen. I'm going to include all the points plans, so Classic, Smart Points, and Points Plus. So there we go. There is our cake. It looks amazing. It is dinner time, so I am making a skinny cheeseburger pot pie. This is a recipe I've never tried. So here is what is in my recipe. So pepper, the low-fat Pillsbury Crescent rolls, mustard, light shredded cheese, any variety it said, so I'm going to use the Mexican style, minced garlic, Worcestershire sauce, ketchup, and I'm going to use the reduced sugar. I'm going to use low-fat cottage cheese, 1 cup of very small diced onions. These are fairly small, so I'm going to use 2. And then 1 pound of the Trader Joe's 96.4 ground beef. So let's make this. It sounds really good. Even my husband was excited when I told him this is what we were having for dinner. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is brown our hamburger. So here is our hamburger. And with that, we are going to add our diced up onions, our garlic, and then I didn't show you, but this recipe also calls for seasoned salt. So I'm going to add in my seasoning salt. I do not have any Lowry's, but I really like the Fred Meyer seasoning salt. So we will go ahead and add that instead of the Lowry's. So let me get this burger in here. Alrighty, so 1 pound of the Trader Joe's extra lean 96.4. And actually, I think this is leaner than the recipe figured into the points, but that's okay. We're still gonna just go with the points that the recipe originally said. All right, we're gonna add in our garlic. I'm using the Trader Joe's minced garlic. I usually will avoid the liquid. Again, I don't measure my garlic. I figure that a little bit of extra garlic isn't gonna hurt anybody. So there's the garlic. Here is the seasoning I'm going to use. It is the Red Robin seasoning. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of that in there, which is honestly similar to the Lowry seasoning salts. And then the last thing I'm going to add are my diced onions. I diced these very small. So that is everything. We'll brown all these together. Let these onions get nice and soft and cooked, and then we will be good to go. I have browned my burger and I have greased my pan. This particular recipe makes 6 servings, so this is a pretty decent sized pan. Here is my hamburger. It is all browned. And to the hamburger, I decided to do it in a bowl. I figured it would just be a little bit easier. But to the hamburger, I am going to add my Worcestershire sauce. So here that is 3 tablespoons. I am also going to add in my ketchup. And I'm using the reduced sugar. And then the last thing I'm going to add before I mix is my mustard. I have the French's yellow mustard. So we'll add that. And then it says that you can put your cottage cheese in a blender or just add it whole. So I'm actually just going to add it whole. But let me mix up the Worcestershire, ketchup, and mustard. I'll kind of show you what that looks like. And then I can, there you go. So you've got the ketchup and the mustard in there. And then you go ahead and add in your 1 cup of cottage cheese. So there is that, ready to go. And I'll mix that in. Typically, I don't blend up the cottage cheese. I don't mind that little bit of consistency in the dish. So we mix in the cottage cheese. So this is the main mix of the casserole. So there you go. That's what the filling of the casserole looks like. But the next thing is I'm going to use my Pillsbury reduced fat crescent rolls, and this becomes a lining for the bottom of my pan. And the recipe does say to roll it out in 1 solid sheet, but then you're supposed to roll it up the sides of the pan, which basically will then form a crust. So this is awfully long. It's going to be pretty thick around the edges. So I am going to kind of maybe wing it a little bit and try to bring a little bit more of the dough to the middle, just because I don't want the edges really thick and then there not to be enough dough in the middle. So basically bring it up the edge a little bit to form a crust. And then it says to poke a few holes in it as well, so that when you cook it, it doesn't bubble up and rise. It actually does create a crust. So this is what that's going to look like. I will poke a few holes, and then you are to put this in the oven for 7 minutes to partially cook the crust. And I do have my oven already preheated and ready to go. While my crust is cooking, I am going to add a little bit of black pepper. It did say to go ahead and add it to taste, so I am going to add a little bit of black pepper to my mix while my crust is cooking. One other thing the recipe calls for is tomato slices. I don't really like tomatoes, especially not cooked, so I am not going to put the tomatoes in the recipe, but as always, I will link the recipe below in the description box, so if you choose to put tomatoes in when you prepare it, that would be up to you, but I am going to skip the tomatoes. All right, and here's the crust out of the oven. So it rose a little bit, and it does have a little bit of that golden brown color to it. So the last thing before it goes back in the oven for 18 to 20 minutes is to go ahead and add our filling on top of the crust. And after you add the filling is where you would add the tomato slices, but I am not going to put those on there. So add all of your filling. And then your tomato slices would go on top of your filling. And then the last step is to add your 1 cup of light shredded cheese to the very top. You do cook this uncovered until the cheese is melted and the crust is golden brown. Alrighty, and then I do have my 1 cup of shredded cheese. So let's go ahead and sprinkle that on there. And then it will go back into the oven for dinner. It looks really good. It smells really good. So here's what it looks like. With our pot pie, our cheeseburger pot pie, we are going to go ahead and have salad. So I'm going to put together a couple of salads. This is the Kroger romaine blend. So it has your lettuce as well as some purple cabbage and some carrots. So it makes a really quick, easy salad. So we'll put in our lettuce, and then I'm going to top it with some goodies just to kind of spice up the salad a little bit. So there are our 2 salads. I got these from one of the employees at my work from her garden, these little baby tomatoes, red and orange. They're really good. So I am going to add a couple of each color to each salad for some color and some extra flavor. So there's that. And then I am going to add some of these bacon pieces. You can have 1 point for a it's 1 point for a serving, which is about a tablespoon. So add a little bit of bacon to each salad. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the Trader Joe's light shredded mozzarella. You can have 1 ounce for 1 point, and I'm just going to put a sprinkle on mine. I probably will add a little bit extra to my husband's, but I'm going to just put a sprinkle, and so it will actually end up being 0 points. That way we can use up the last little bit of the bag. So there we go. We've got our cheese, our bacon, and our tomatoes. And then the last thing that you saw in my Kroger haul is when I bought those bacon bits, I got a pack of the Kroger croutons for free. So I am going to add 6 croutons to my salad, which is 1 point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then I'm going to add some croutons to my husband's salad. Of course, we don't have to measure out for him. And then we are going to have our salads with the Bolthouse Classic Ranch. So this will be the accompaniment to our casserole. And here is the finished casserole. I'm going to let it set for just a few minutes. Slice it into 6 slices, and I'll show you our complete dinner. All right, and here is dinner. So there is 1/6 of the casserole. So it's a pretty good sized portion for the points. A salad that you saw me prepare with the Bolthouse Ranch. And then I have some iced tea, sweetened blackberry with sugar-free, so it is 0 points. So all the points values will be on the screen. So football has officially started, as you can see. So I guess I'll see my husband after football season is over. But I just finished dinner, and here is what I'm going to have for dessert. And this is the Halo Top oatmeal cookie. I don't know how much I will have. I have the points available for the whole thing, but I'm pretty full from dinner. So this is going to round out the rest of my day. So thank you for tuning in to my video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment below, and hit the notification bell so that you receive notifications every time I post a new video. So thank you for spending your Sunday with me, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.